Emily Parker, female, 9, sits in a wheelchair, staring sadly at the playground she can't play in. Rain glistens on the ground as she grips the wheels tightly. Jake Thompson, male, 32, approaches with a kind, determined smile, noticing her struggle. Emily looks up, unsure but curious. Soft light falls through nearby trees, highlighting the quiet moment. Emily was told she'd never walk again, until a mechanic showed up, changing everything. Like, share, and subscribe, and tell us where you're watching from. Now let's get started. Emily Parker had always been an energetic, joyful child, her laughter echoing through the small Ohio town where she lived. At 9 years old, she loved to run, climb trees, and race her friends down the street after school. Her legs had always been strong and agile, carrying her across playgrounds and soccer fields with ease. But everything changed in an instant one rainy afternoon when her mother was driving her home from school. A car skidded on the wet road, losing control, and collided with their vehicle. In a moment, Emily's world transformed, from playful freedom to silent fear, pain and uncertainty about the future. At the hospital, the doctors delivered the news with professional solemnity, but their words hit like cold stones in her heart. Emily may never walk again, they said, explaining that her spinal injuries were severe and recovery would be extremely limited. Her parents, Kate and David Parker, clutched her hands tightly, struggling to maintain composure in front of their daughter. They knew the prognosis was devastating, yet they tried to frame hope in cautious terms. Emily, however, felt a crushing sense of loss. She had spent her entire life running, climbing, and exploring, and now even standing seemed impossible. The first few weeks in the wheelchair were the hardest. Emily struggled with feelings of anger, frustration, and grief. She watched the world move past her. Playground swings, swaying empty, her friends sprinting without a care. Therapy sessions were difficult. The exercises left her exhausted and discouraged. Yet her parents encouraged her to keep trying, reminding her that small progress still counted. "Even a tiny step forward is a victory," her mother whispered. Emily nodded, but deep inside, she questioned whether she would ever feel the wind on her face again, or hear the satisfying thud of her sneakers hitting the pavement as she ran. Her days became filled with quiet routines. Mornings involved stretching exercises and wheelchair mobility training. Afternoons were spent at home, drawing pictures of her dream adventures, swinging high in the park, running through fields, and even imagining herself dancing in the school gym. Art became her escape, a way to express what words could not capture. Through her sketches, she silently told herself that she still wanted the life she had lost. Her imagination kept hope flickering, even if her body refused to cooperate. Each line she drew was a reminder of the independence she yearned to regain. One rainy afternoon, Emily struggled to navigate her wheelchair through the slippery driveway. The wheels slipped and stuck in the muddy patches, leaving her frustrated and anxious. From a nearby auto repair shop, a man noticed her difficulties. Jake Thompson, a 32-year-old mechanic with a warm smile and kind eyes, was taking a break from his work. He had always been compassionate and enjoyed helping people, though he had never encountered a challenge quite like this. Seeing Emily's struggle, he felt a surge of determination to assist. Without hesitation, he approached her, carrying a toolbox and an air of quiet confidence that made Emily glance up curiously. "Hey there, you okay?" Jake asked gently, kneeling beside the stuck wheelchair. His voice was calm and soothing, instantly putting Emily at ease. She nodded cautiously, unsure of this stranger's intentions. "I can give you a hand," he continued, pointing to the wheels that were wedged in mud. Emily hesitated, but sensed sincerity in his demeanor. With careful precision, Jake lifted the chair, adjusting the wheels and clearing the mud. His movements were steady, deliberate, and attentive, making the whole process feel safe. For the first time in weeks, Emily smiled, a tiny spark of hope igniting within her. Over the next few days, Jake made it a habit to check on Emily whenever he could. He was inventive, sometimes bringing small gadgets and tools to help her adjust her wheelchair or practice movements safely. He never pressured her, but always encouraged her gently, explaining each modification and its purpose. Emily began to feel a sense of excitement she hadn't experienced in months. She wasn't just a patient or a child to be pitied. She was part of a plan, a participant in an experiment of ingenuity and hope that Jake seemed committed to exploring alongside her. Emily's parents were initially surprised by Jake's persistence, but soon welcomed him into their lives. Kate watched as Emily's eyes lit up when Jake arrived, curiosity replacing the despair that had clouded her expression. David appreciated the practicality Jake brought, repairing small things around the house and making the environment safer for Emily's exercises. The house, once filled with an atmosphere of worry and helplessness, began to buzz with energy. Tools clinked, wheels turned, and ideas were exchanged. In the midst of this mechanical and emotional work, Emily found herself daring to dream again. Tiny movements were now goals, and hope was tangible. Jake introduced small exercises, cleverly disguised as games, to help Emily engage her leg muscles. He rigged a system using simple pulleys and supports, ensuring she could attempt standing or partial steps without risking injury. Emily was hesitant at first, but with each attempt, her confidence grew. Every slight movement, every trembling balance became a victory. Laughter began to reappear in her daily life, and for the first time in months, Emily felt a sense of agency over her body. The partnership between Emily and Jake was transforming despair into possibility, and with every day that passed, she believed in the chance to walk again. Neighborhood children began to notice Emily's progress as well. They peeked through the windows, curious about the new routines and the strange contraptions Jake had built. Some came over, eager to cheer her on during exercises. Emily felt included again, no longer trapped in the isolation her injury had imposed. She realized that miracles sometimes come from unexpected places, not from doctors' offices or hospital beds, but from determined individuals willing to think differently and act with kindness. Jake's presence had sparked a light in her life that nothing else could ignite. By the end of the first part of her journey, Emily's world had begun to shift. While the road ahead was still uncertain, the spark of possibility burned brightly within her. She could now lift herself slightly with the wheelchair supports, take a few cautious steps with Jake's assistance, and even imagine running one day. For the first time, the words "never walk again" no longer felt final. They were a challenge, one that she was determined to face head-on. And in this small Ohio town, a young girl and a compassionate mechanic were quietly proving that hope. Ingenuity and perseverance could redefine the impossible. As the days passed, Jake's visits became the highlight of Emily's routine. Each afternoon after school, she eagerly awaited his arrival, her small heart fluttering with anticipation. Jake never rushed her. Instead, he approached every exercise as a challenge to be solved together. He brought new tools, measured supports, and improvised braces that would help her leg muscles strengthen. Emily watched him carefully, fascinated by the way he could transform ordinary materials into devices that aided her recovery. With each session, her trust in him grew. She wasn't just a patient or a child needing pity. She was part of a plan, a partner in an unexpected journey toward hope. Jake began introducing incremental goals, encouraging Emily to attempt small movements on her own. At first, it was as simple as lifting her legs slightly while seated in her wheelchair. He celebrated each success enthusiastically, clapping and cheering, making Emily giggle despite her exhaustion. The exercises became playful challenges, balancing on soft mats, reaching for objects with her feet, and attempting assisted steps along the hallway. Emily's parents observed quietly from the sidelines, amazed at the transformation unfolding before them. Where despair had once lived, determination was taking root. It wasn't just about physical recovery. Emily's spirit was reviving, fueled by patience, persistence, and Jake's unwavering belief in her. Outside the house, Jake even designed small obstacle courses to help Emily practice coordination and strength. Using household items like broom handles and cushions, he created paths that required balance, flexibility, and focus. Emily tackled them with enthusiasm, imagining herself as a hero navigating challenges. Each successful attempt brought her closer to the dream she thought was lost forever. Her friends began visiting again, inspired by her progress, cheering her on and adding laughter to the sessions. Slowly, the home transformed from a quiet place of fear into a hub of energy, creativity, and hope. Emily began to feel capable again, empowered to reclaim some of the freedom her accident had stolen. The local community soon noticed Emily's journey. Neighbors peeked in curiously, offering encouragement, small donations, or even simple gestures like homemade snacks during the long exercise sessions. Jake's inventive methods became a topic of admiration. People marveled at the mechanic who used tools and simple engineering to aid a child's recovery. Emily felt proud but also deeply motivated, understanding that her efforts inspired others. This external support bolstered her confidence and commitment. Every exercise, every small victory, was no longer just about walking again. It was about proving to herself and everyone around her that determination, creativity, and persistence could overcome what seemed impossible. One morning, Emily struggled with a particularly challenging exercise. Her leg muscles trembled, her small hands gripping the wheelchair tightly. Frustration threatened to take over, and tears welled in her eyes. Jake knelt beside her, gently adjusting her posture and whispering encouraging words. "You've done so much already," he said softly. "Take a deep breath. Let's try together." Emily nodded, inhaling slowly, and attempted the movement again. This time, with Jake supporting her lightly, she managed to lift her leg and hold it for a few seconds longer than ever before. The room erupted with joy, her parents hugging her tightly, overwhelmed with emotion. Each tiny success now carried immense significance. As the weeks turned into months, Emily's progress became increasingly remarkable. She could now stand with minimal support for short periods and take a few assisted steps using her modified wheelchair handles. Jake introduced new tools that helped her practice leg strength while seated, gradually preparing her for more independent movement. Emily's laughter returned fully. The home resonated with energy and excitement. Even her physical therapists, initially skeptical, were astonished by the creative exercises Jake had implemented. Progress that once seemed impossible was happening right in front of their eyes. Emily's faith in her own abilities strengthened, and her bond with Jake grew into a genuine friendship built on trust and shared triumphs. To keep Emily motivated, Jake started recording small milestones. He took videos of her assisted steps and balance exercises, compiling them into a visual diary of her progress. Emily loved watching herself improve, noting the small changes in strength and confidence. The diary became a source of pride, not just for her but for her entire family. Kate and David documented every moment with photos and notes, creating a story of perseverance they could revisit whenever doubt crept in. Each recorded milestone reinforced the reality that progress, though slow, was happening steadily. Emily's journey was tangible, measurable, and profoundly inspiring. At school, Emily began reintegrating slowly, with her teachers providing adaptive support. She navigated hallways with her modified wheelchair, gaining confidence in managing her environment. Her friends celebrated her achievements, no longer seeing her as limited but as someone extraordinary for her determination. Emily's experiences became lessons she shared with peers, teaching empathy, resilience, and creativity. The accident had isolated her initially, but now she was a source of inspiration, demonstrating how persistence, innovative thinking, and support could transform despair into hope. Jake's influence extended beyond her home. His ingenuity and kindness were shaping a community's understanding of courage. During therapy sessions at home, Jake introduced a new challenge: partial independent standing with a harness system. Emily's heart raced with both fear and excitement as she stepped onto the makeshift platform. Her legs shook violently, but with Jake stabilizing her gently, she managed to hold herself upright for a few seconds longer than before. Each attempt built her confidence, and soon her movements became smoother, more controlled. Emily's determination was unrelenting. She refused to give up, even when exhaustion threatened to overtake her. Through these exercises, she began to experience the sensation of strength returning to her legs, a feeling she hadn't known in months. By the end of this intensive period, Emily's transformation was visible not only in her physical abilities, but in her personality. Her laughter was constant, her curiosity boundless, and her resilience evident in every action. Jake continued to refine exercises, always adjusting challenges to keep her motivated without overwhelming her. Emily's parents marveled at the dedication of this mechanic who had become an inseparable part of their family's life. The home was no longer a place of fear, but a hub of ingenuity, encouragement, and possibility. Emily began to understand that recovery was a journey, not a destination, and that small, consistent efforts could yield extraordinary results. One evening, after an especially productive session, Emily sat on the couch, exhausted but elated. She reflected on the past few months and realized how far she had come. Movements that had seemed impossible now felt achievable, and exercises that once caused frustration now brought joy. She looked at Jake with gratitude, understanding that his inventive approach, patience, and unwavering support had changed her life. Her parents joined her, tears glistening in their eyes, proud of her courage and perseverance. Emily's hope had transformed into tangible progress, and she now dared to dream of the day she would finally walk on her own. The morning sun streamed through the windows, casting a warm glow on Emily Parker's bedroom. Today felt different, charged with anticipation and excitement. Months of exercises, innovations, and small victories had brought her to a pivotal moment. With Jake Thompson by her side, she prepared for something she had once believed impossible, taking independent steps. Her heart raced as she positioned herself with the harness and custom supports he had built. Her parents watched from the doorway, holding their breath, their faces a mix of anxiety and hope. Emily inhaled deeply, focusing on the tiny voice inside, telling her she could do it. Jake crouched beside her, offering gentle encouragement. "You're ready, Emily, just one step at a time," he whispered. She nodded, gripping the handles tightly. Her legs wobbled, trembling with both fear and excitement, but she felt a spark of strength she hadn't experienced in months. Carefully, she lifted her right leg and then her left, leaning on the supports just enough to maintain balance. Each movement was deliberate and cautious, but it marked a victory, a declaration that she would no longer be defined by her injury. Her parents gasped, their eyes welling with tears as they realized what was happening. The first few steps were unsteady, her small frame swaying dangerously. But Jake's steady hands and words of encouragement kept her focused. Emily's mind refused to dwell on past limitations. Instead, it fixated on the sensation of standing tall, feeling her legs bear her weight. It was unlike anything she had experienced since the accident. With each step, her confidence grew, and her body began to remember the motions it had long forgotten. The living room, once a place of frustration and struggle, now became a stage for triumph. Every movement was a testament to months of persistence, patience, and inventive support from her unlikely mentor. Her parents rushed closer, their arms open in celebration, as Emily managed a few more steps independently. Laughter and tears mingled as the family embraced the reality of what had just occurred. Emily's small legs had carried her forward, defying the prognosis that had once seemed absolute. Doctors' warnings that she would never walk again felt distant and irrelevant now. She had achieved what many had deemed impossible. This victory was not only physical but emotional, a reclaiming of her autonomy, her strength, and her joy. The sense of accomplishment filled the room with a warmth and energy that had been absent for far too long. Jake stepped back, smiling with quiet pride, letting Emily experience this breakthrough fully. He had guided her, taught her, and encouraged her, but now the moment belonged to her. The tools, modifications, and supports he had devised had served their purpose, and Emily's body was finally responding with its own strength. She felt a surge of empowerment, realizing that months of effort had transformed despair into victory. Her determination, creativity, and persistence had made the impossible real. Emily took another step, this time with a more natural rhythm, and the living room seemed to expand around her, celebrating each motion as a symbol of courage and perseverance. Word of Emily's achievement spread quickly through the small Ohio town. Neighbors and friends visited, offering congratulations and sharing in her joy. Emily became a symbol of hope, demonstrating that miracles could arise from determination, creativity, and support from unexpected sources. Her friends, inspired by her journey, began embracing challenges in their own lives with renewed courage. The community rallied around her, and Jake, the humble mechanic, received recognition not for wealth or fame, but for his ingenuity, kindness, and unwavering dedication. Together, they had shown that even the bleakest predictions could be overturned by belief, effort, and compassion. Doctors and therapists marveled at Emily's recovery. They had anticipated limited progress, yet here she was, walking with confidence and strength. Medical evaluations confirmed that her muscles and coordination had improved remarkably, far exceeding expectations. While they acknowledged the unconventional methods Jake had employed, they could not deny their effectiveness. Emily's story became a beacon of inspiration for families facing similar challenges, demonstrating that determination, personalized care, and innovative approaches could achieve what traditional methods sometimes could not. Her journey redefined the meaning of hope and recovery in a way that resonated far beyond her small hometown. Emily began reintegrating fully into her school and social activities. She ran on the playground, participated in gym class, and even joined a beginner's soccer team. Her confidence soared as she realized that the limitations once imposed on her were no longer defining her life. She shared her story with classmates and teachers, emphasizing the importance of perseverance and creativity in overcoming obstacles. Jake continued to support her when needed, but increasingly stepped back, allowing Emily to assert her independence. The relationship had transformed from one of mentor and patient into one of friendship, mutual respect, and admiration for the journey they had navigated together. The Parker household became a center for celebration and reflection. Emily's parents documented milestones, capturing video clips of her first steps, first run, and first independent soccer practice. They understood the magnitude of this transformation and wanted to preserve every moment. Emily herself cherished these memories, reflecting on how far she had come and the people who had believed in her when she couldn't believe in herself. Jake's influence extended beyond her physical recovery. He had instilled courage, resilience, and a belief in possibilities that would shape Emily's life forever. She had learned that even the most daunting obstacles could be overcome with support, creativity, and unyielding determination. Months later, Emily participated in a community event celebrating local heroes. She walked confidently across the stage, sharing her story with an audience inspired by her journey. She spoke of the accident, the struggles, and the despair, but emphasized the hope, ingenuity, and compassion that had allowed her to reclaim her mobility. Jake sat in the front row, smiling quietly, proud of the child who had once doubted herself. Emily's message resonated deeply with everyone present. Setbacks are not permanent, and miracles often arrive in unexpected forms, carried by people willing to dedicate time, creativity, and heart to make a difference. As the sun set over the small Ohio town, Emily Parker ran through the park for the first time in years, her laughter echoing freely. Her legs, once weak and uncertain, now carried her with strength and joy. Her parents followed closely, tears streaming, while Jake cheered from the sidelines, his heart full of pride. The journey had been long, difficult, and uncertain, but it had led to triumph. Emily had learned a profound lesson. Determination, courage, and the kindness of those who believe in you can rewrite the story of your life. What had seemed impossible was now her everyday reality, a testament to hope, ingenuity, and the human spirit.